we got to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because I see just how much they're trying to push him as this conservative alternative. Many people, so-called in the conservative media, have been giving him a very big platform. They're probably never Trumpers. I think that's unfortunate, but also not surprising.
No, let's not do that. That's not what I'm saying. It's not necessarily never Trumpers. We warned you about your daddy and that Operation Warp Speed. We warned you. A lot of people warned you. Candace Owens, and I'm a nobody. Candace Owens did that interview with Donald Trump a while back, and she was very respectful. And she said, she's basically like, sir, your position here saying you didn't mandate anything is not good enough. We need more from you. We need to acknowledge the mistakes. We need you to go after these people. He chose not to. RFK isn't even running on the V. He's not even running on the pandemic. And it's still hurting Donald Trump.
They're giving him softball interviews, but many are now waking up to realize, as I've been saying here for months, that he's actually competing with Joe Biden for who is further to the left, which is truly saying something. RFK Jr. went viral this weekend for all of the wrong reasons. Look at this video where it says he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know whether to say sex change operations for minors should be illegal. He doesn't know, folks.
I can talk about that. I think this is the old video that they're astroturfing old stuff. It's an old video and he's changed his position, but we can have this conversation.
As a president, to get this nonsense out to prevent kids under the age of 18 with or without the consent of the father to transition, you may even say that is an okay policy you're a part of that many families disagree with. One, what's your position on this, and what will you do as a president?
I mean, my position is that people should not be able to have access to those procedures, that minors shouldn't, without parental permission. And, you know, I don't know enough about it, Patrick, to say that it should be completely illegal for
under 18?
No, but yeah, I just don't know enough. What I'm going to tell.
I have no problem with that. He has changed his position, I believe, is what I'm seeing since then. I have no problem with that take. Number one, if he says, I don't know enough, I'm not an expert in it. RFKJ is very knowledgeable in a lot of specific areas, and he will let you know. Somebody who is very knowledgeable, when they get to an area where they're not, they'll say they're not. And then forget about that. He said, with a parent's consent, then basically without a parent's consent, they shouldn't be able to have access. What's wrong with that? All of a sudden, we're not for parental control? I have no problem with that take. That's not a conservative thing. That has nothing to do with conservatism. Conservatism is not the position that the government gets to decide your medical decision. That is not a conservative position, or I don't even like the word conservative. That's not a Republican or not, or MAGA or not. That is just a fundamental rights issue, parental rights issue.
Doesn't know enough? Really? Like, come on. This one, you don't know. Hey, should a 3-year-old make a permanent life-altering decision and be on meds for the rest of their lives? I don't know. I'm pretty conservative. Give me a break. Okay, just like every other.
That's not the take. Don't do that. Do you see, when you have to exaggerate the position is a doctor, parent, and then a child involved. The government's involved already through the licensing of the medical professionals as well. So don't do that.
Their policy that he's had. People are like, no, look at what he said 3 days ago about XYZ. It sounds kind of conservative. I go, but he's got a 40-year track record of doing the opposite. Every policy, whether it's the radical environmental stuff, whether it was gun stuff, whether it was open borders, it's like 6 months ago he changed his mind entirely. We need to be honest about who this guy is. He is a leftist. His record is that of a hardcore Democrat. For starters, RFK Jr. attacked the border wall and mass deportations in 2017. This headline, for example, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., UFW leader, They denounced Trump's plans for a border wall.
And you have to go back to 2017, man. That's not going to work for me. You gotta have a better take than that, more modern take, a more recent take. That clip you had from him was old too.
And deportations. When it counted, RFK Jr. was America last. He's been that way for a very long time. But now we can change our entire policy. It's almost like it's yet another psyop, folks. I'm shocked. Shocked to see this. He started magically appearing in my social media feeds from people I don't follow about, a year ago, and it was all conservative stuff. And yet, if you actually look into the record, and let's just remember, he's an actual Kennedy, it's not like they haven't been political for a long time. It's not like he didn't talk on these subjects.
I don't get it. He's not trying to portray himself as a conservative, though.
You don't change your entire worldview in a matter of a few weeks, unless, of course, you're doing the bidding of the Democrat Party. This is just scratching the surface, though, folks. Have you seen how he talks about Republicans? He thinks we're murderers.
Red state people are more likely to murder you, to impregnate your teenage daughter, to commit a violent crime against.
Oh, you live in a red state and you're going to get murdered. Wow, you should really go to some blue states.
It's not good enough, man. This is making me wonder what's going on.
In some really blue cities.
With Trump. That's not a good enough clip. It looks like another old clip. I mean, barely any context to it. Maybe it's a cringe take at the time, but I mean, is that his take now? I mean, that's a long time ago. 2020, I was an AOC supporter for half the year.
And see how that fares. I live in a red state and a red county, and I feel like the safest human being in the world. But people who own guns, in the red states, they're going to murder you. It doesn't actually happen statistically. It happens in blue cities with illegal guns by criminal thugs and the immigrants that Joe Biden and RFK Jr. would gladly let into the country.
Is he doing an impression of his dad, or is that he just have that genetically, the hands and everything?
Because they disagree with the border wall, but, minor details. Who's going to let the facts get in the way of a good story, folks? And by the way, if you would disagree with him, RFK thinks he should be able to put you in prison. Who else does that sound like? I'm trying to think. Well, we'll get to that more shortly with Julie Kelly when we talk about the gag orders against my father. Okay? RFK Jr. thinks you should be able to be put in prison if you disagree with him. Just a few years ago, as part of his radical environmental craziness, RFK said that he wishes it was illegal to say global warming doesn't exist. Hear for yourself.
In jail, I think they should be enjoying 3 hots and a cot at The Hague with all the other war criminals who are there.
What about politicians, people who deny, who express skepticism?
They're selling out the public trust. And, I think those guys who are doing the Koch brothers bidding and who are against all the evidence of the rational mind are saying that global warming doesn't exist, that they are contemptible human beings, and that, I wish that there were a law you could punish them under.
Oh, yeah, he sounds like a conservative, but of course...
But he's not a conservative, though. And yeah, that's terrible. Again, it's old, it's terrible. It's fair in a debate. Why don't your daddy debate him? Probably wouldn't want to do that. That wouldn't be a good idea, especially with his pandemic take. So I look at RFK and I'm like, you're both Zionists, hate that, but you're both, all of y'all are. And the next important issue is free speech. Trump's better on free speech. Next important issue is the pandemic. RFK's better on the pandemic. You've got pretty similar as far as where I'm looking at. Trump's not some conservative, or he is because he's a Zionist, but he's not some person that has any type of ideology on even the populist right. I mean, he's just the face. So when you look at it, I don't know if it really matters even. Trump did Operation Warp Speed. RFK says if you deny climate change that there should be a law. I mean, there's not much difference there, to be honest with you. So that's the segment there for Don Jr., and it looks like they're worried. And I don't blame them, because when you look at it, you could pick one or the other. It's not much difference to me. And that's a problem for Trump. I've been going back and forth. At first I thought RFK would take more from Trump. Then I was like, no, I'm looking at the numbers or whatever. I didn't do a big research, but I saw, oh, he's taking more from Biden. Obviously, they're worried about him taking more votes from Trump.
Middle MAGA.